You're listening to Cancer Convos with Brady and Stacy. Good morning and welcome to Cancer Convos. I'm Stacy Sturm and I have a very special guest on with me today, a longtime friend of mine, 30 years? 30 years, probably. 30 years because it was college and I'm 50. I'm 50. So yikes. So it's been about 30 years. I want to say welcome to the program, but sorry you have to be on the program. Candace, how are you doing today?
Good. Well, aloha. So yeah, I'm Candace living out in Hawaii now, but North Dakota kid who just did come back to Bismarck for the 30th high school reunion for me. But yeah,
Oh,
you and I met at
crazy.
University of Mary, and yeah, time flies. Time flies.
Now, I'm glad we get to touch base, but sad that we have to touch base this way. You were recently diagnosed with cancer, so tell us how and what kind of cancer you have.
Sure. So it's February now, and I found out for a Christmas present the gift I didn't want to get from Santa, getting rolled into the operating room on December 19th. Thinking I had ovarian pain, that maybe we were going to find a chocolate cyst is what we were looking for, maybe some endometriosis. And so, Christmas music's playing on the speaker. We're laughing. I'm saying, hey, it's cleanup in aisle 3. Let's get this, pain cleared up. This is going to be an
Yeah.
awesome Christmas. And I wake up and he's like, the OB says, we found jelly. I was like, what? Like, what? Like, we
Right.
found jelly. Like,
You're like, am I
we were
an
looking for
alien?
a chocolate cyst. Like,
Yeah.
what? And, I'm still coming out from the anesthesia. And so I had like no idea what he's talking about. And, I read in the report that they found like a gelatinous mass behind my ovary. And I was like, that ain't right. But it's Christmas then. And so the day after Christmas, I go to his office. He's like, yeah, it was really strange. I went in laparoscopically and there was jelly dripping from all your organs. And I was like, what are we talking about here?
Right.
So it's kind of like the Alien movie where that clear dripping off of the
Yeah.
aliens, that's what's going on in my abdominal cavity. And the gelatinous mass he pulled out accidentally. We didn't see it on CT scans. We knew I was having a lot of ovarian pain. But as he pulled out my healthy ovary, this big gelatinous glob that filled his hand came out from behind my ovary. And it's like, okay, well, that's not healthy, good. Like they were
Yeah,
just like, well,
that's not
it just
good.
must be premenopause, you must be premenopausal. That's why your ovary hurts, well, you'll feel better in 10 years when you transition to menopause. I'm like, no, please just let's go in and look. And so
Yeah.
what all the mucin is and the gelatinous mass is statistics vary. It's so misdiagnosed. It could be a 1 in a million, a 1 in 4 million cancer. It's called, excuse me, pseudomyxoma peritonei. So it's kind of a mouthful. The
Yeah.
pseudomyxoma is false mucinous tumor. And then the peritonei means your peritoneal sac, your abdominal cavity
Yeah.
is your peritoneum. So it gets shortened to like PMP, but sometimes it gets called appendix cancer, pseudomyxoma peritonei. So sometimes it presents in the appendix, sometimes it presents in the ovary. What happens, and I am in we know you have a cancer that's nicknamed jelly belly. I look about 9 months pregnant now. My abdominal cavity just keeps filling this mucin. Is And it pools down in the pelvis, it pools up in the diaphragm. And so it's very difficult to walk, very difficult to breathe now. But I've been feeling like this for a good couple of years where I was like, hey, I'm short of breath. This isn't okay. Like, got to keep digging. So I'm in the phase of, I know I have something that's creating mucin in my abdominal cavity. We have to track down which organ had a small polyp tumor that burst. And it's a tiny little burst. Like when it's the appendix, usually it's like horrific appendix pain, and
Yeah.
then the pain goes away and it starts spewing out that mucin. But most of the time it's like, well, this wasn't your appendix, you're good to go. But it actually is. And so we're in the phase of diagnostic, of figuring out which organ is spewing out this malicious mucin. But the kicker is with pseudomyxoma, that fake part of it, a lot of my tests come up as benign. My cancer markers in my bloodstream are like really super low. It's unlike other cancers where it's not bloodborne. It typically doesn't go into your lymph nodes. It typically doesn't even spread out of the peritoneal cavity, but I'm starting to have some things showing up on x-rays in my lungs. So I need to get diagnosed to see what's going on if it escaped. So it's kind of like coming at it like Ripley, trying to track down the alien and kill
Right.
it with fire. And I'm in the middle of the Pacific, sitting in an island with a rare cancer that doctors are just like, I don't know, your CT scans look just fine. You just need to go poop. Because that's my biggest symptom is that I just wasn't able to go poop. And so they're like,
Yeah.
well, low fiber, low residue diet. I'm like, okay, but I still can't poop. Poop is, kind of
Yeah.
important. And with a lot of cancer conversations, does come up because it tells a lot about our bodies. So I
Yeah.
wasn't able to poop. I was having this heavy pelvic pain that even when I was in North Dakota for the school reunion, I went and I was like, I must have a UTI. Like, this hurts. This is bladder heaviness. And the doctor was like, I don't know what's wrong with you, but it's not a UTI. And here it was cancer sitting on my bladder. So yeah, it's been a long journey, lots of abdominal pain since August that I just keep saying no. Like, so the GI doctor did a colonoscopy, found cancerous polyps, sent me back to the OB saying, well, whatever this abdominal pain is, I don't think it's GI. I think it's something else. And then the OB was like, okay, well, we'll do some imagery. Yeah, there's a big, huge tumor growing or, some kind of growth in my uterus, uterine thickening. I was having like clean up an aisle 3 murder scene periods, like these bloodbaths of just,
Yeah.
crazy, like beyond what menopause, transitioning to menopause could do. And I was like, just kept saying, this isn't right. Can we please keep digging? Please figure out what's going on. But my biggest symptom was I'm just so short of breath. I'm 48 and I can't walk across my kitchen. Like I'm trying to walk my dogs and I'm making it 2 driveways down and I have to catch my breath. And that was what got ears to listen. I'm like, look, I'm a yoga
Yeah.
teacher and I
Yeah.
can't
You're a
breathe.
fit person.
Yep,
Yeah.
I'm a yoga teacher and I can't breathe. So for a while there, I'm a disabled vet, so I was working with the VA, and the VA Pacific is amazing. They have this whole body health where they're like, let's help you with nutrition, spiritual, your therapy, all these, whole body ways of looking at my health. And it's like, look, you're doing these breath meditations, and I can't do like breathe in for 4 and breathe out for 4. Like I'm struggling to get in 2.
Yeah.
I've trained my lungs for 25 years to breathe deeply, and I can't do what's called, a 4-part breath. So they're like, well, do more trauma therapy. You must just have anxiety. Your PTSD flared up. And I was like, okay, like I'll do the work. So I'm like, I'll put in the work. And then I'm still like, I can't breathe. Well, here's an asthma inhaler. Okay, well, pulmonary function test. Okay, fine. We'll give you one. We think it's COPD, lung damage from toxic exposure while I was in the Army. And I was like, okay, well, that tracks. I was at 2 bases that had,
Yeah.
toxic water and toxic air recirculating through our building. And so it's like, maybe. But with the inhalers not working, I was like, okay, we gotta figure this out. If you can't breathe, if you can't poop, this is not quality of life here. I'm circling the toilet. We gotta figure this out. So finally finding the jelly belly in December got us on the path. But then doctors are like, I don't treat that. I don't want to see her. And so we're trying to exhaust all the care
Right.
options on island. And we're just like, finally one doctor was like, look, just yeah, we have a partnership with our Queens Medical Center here to MD Anderson in Texas. Why don't you just self-refer? Like, well, I'm trying to go through the VA process of checking every
Right.
box,
Yeah.
and to not go into massive cancer debt. But I was like, fine, I guess we do have federal Blue Cross. I'll just get an appointment with that and hope that maybe my VA paperwork eventually catches up to help pay the difference. But I'm kind of the you broke me, you buy me, and I'm hoping that the VA kicks in. But
Yeah.
I'm just happy that MD Anderson did accept me. They saw the pictures that they took from the laparoscopic surgery, and they're like, it quacks like a PMP duck. We got to figure out what kind of duck it is. So it comes in a lot of different varieties. Some are very aggressive and nasty and need lifelong chemo. Others that I'm knocking on wood, crossing my fingers, please that I have is the low grade.
Hmm.
The low grade mucinous is typically treated in a really crazy way. So the cleanup in aisle 3 comes by unzipping your belly from sternum through the belly button to your
Ah,
pubic bone. And they open you up, and it's 12 to 14-hour surgery where they go in and they pull out all the abdominal organs and they look for polyps, they look for gelatinous masses, they suck up the mucin. But yeah, this big mucus jelly belly mess, we have to
ah.
like find all evidence of disease first. And going to have some specialized CT scans at MD Anderson next week, and they have a special appendix cancer drink that you drink and an enema, which will be super fun. But I'll finally light up like a Christmas tree to know what kind of spread I have of this mucin. And
That's
so once we,
absolutely insane. I had the same surgery where they basically get you like an autopsy and they go through and make sure that they get it all out, get everything. I think they called it with mine, it was called debulking though.
yeah, they call it debulking or the mother
Yeah.
of all surgeries is
Yeah.
another
And
term they use.
it was not pleasant.
No, no.
So here, mine went very much like this. Like, I think we got it all out. It was like 9 hours. He's like, I think we got it all out, everything that we could see at least. We pulled your spleen because that was affected. We pulled your appendix because it looked like it. Oh no, they pulled my appendix because it for sure had cancer in it. They pulled my spleen because it looked yucky. They said it was mucusy. They're like, it was mucusy and really wasn't right. There was something wrong with it. Or so we thought, but we tested it. It's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. So they took like 2 or 3 organs they didn't even need to take or parts of it. Like they cut off part of my liver. And I'm like,
Yep.
holy
Yep.
shit.
Right. It's
That's,
redonkulous.
it
And
is.
yeah,
But I do have to say, if you do end up having it done, um, I honestly, I was out of the hospital in 2 days
wow.
and just self-sufficient at home after that. I mean,
Yep.
so knock on wood,
Right.
that you can get away with that and get that done because, I mean, I'm just trying to picture like this is just the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Right.
Like
So yeah,
jelly all over your
jelly all
organs,
over your
like
belly. Jelly belly cancer, just because it now jiggles like a Santa jelly. Like I'm doing aqua therapy to try and build up my lung strength because my lungs collapsed after surgery.
yeah,
And so I'm trying to rebuild my lung strength to get ready in case I can have this mother of all surgeries. But we have a plot twist with PMP where it's not just enough to clean up aisle 3. We actually have to like put in pipes into our abdominal cavity, zip
yeah.
the belly up temporarily, pump in chemo, heated chemo for about
Oh,
90 minutes.
the belly bath
So this
chemo.
big belly
Yeah,
bath chemo, it's called high
yeah,
tech, and they like
yeah,
swish it around to get it into all the nooks and crannies because this mucin
yeah,
likes to reseed if you don't get it all. And so there are some 15 and 20-year survivors of this cancer if it's fully debulked, if it's
mm-hmm,
fully killed with fire. So it is
yep,
truly like the Ripley aliens thing, trying to like get it all with fire. And but sometimes that chemo wash can cause complications. There's some
yeah,
PMP survivors that spend a couple months in the hospital. If they have to sometimes they take our belly button if the mucin has made it into our belly button. So to relearn to walk without a belly button, that core strength is going to be something that I'm trying to work on back and core and leg and arm strength now, just so that I'm like strong and resilient if this is the road that I get to take.
yeah.
So
So when
it's
do you find out what your treatment plan's going to be? When are you going to have any idea of what's going to
okay.
happen to you?
Okay. Yeah, so I was rescheduled from late January to be seen at MD Anderson, and now it's late February that I finally am going to be seen. We do the CT scan and blood work on a Sunday, the 23rd, and then Monday I meet with the team where we talk about all the weird things like these Sherlock Holmes mysteries that have been Candace's body for the last couple of years, to talk about
Yeah,
the lungs and to talk about, other tests that we've done here on island. They might bring in other teams. It's a gastrointestinal England team that helps with these appendix-based cancers, but because it could be ovarian, it could be bladder, they really bring in a multidisciplinary team to do a full panel of deciding what is going to be the best treatment plan.
Yeah.
Once we test the mucin, we're not sure if he collected any properly during the December 19. Like he did a little gauze swab, and I don't think usually you draw out the fluid, so we might have to do some things like that. So they said 3 to 5 days of diagnostic workups at MD Anderson, discern which PMP duck it is. Like it's quacking like the duck. It quacks similarly, like you said. You had mucin in your body as well.
Yeah.
Multiple myeloma sometimes has mucin. So right now we're on the assumption that it's pseudomyxoma peritonei, but it could be some other beast. But it's showing a lot of the signs and symptoms. The mucin pooling in the abdomen the way it is. Like the doctor was like, yeah, it's got a whole bunch at the bottom of your pelvis there, and you can just feel it. It's heavy and jiggling. The belly full of jelly is surreal.
That's
That's kind of where we're
crazy.
at. But they turn our abdomen into a big, huge grid, like a bingo card. And with that CT exam or MRIs, if they decide to do that, they grid out where the cancer mucin has spread and which organs are affected. And then, like a bingo card, they blot out and they give a score. And if the score is too high, uh, sometimes MD Anderson will treat you. You have to go to a higher risk, higher volume
Yeah.
treatment center. And so that could be like Mercy Hospital in Baltimore. But yeah, it's a question mark of where will you get treated, Candace? I'm like, I don't know. We got to figure out what it is first. And like, we know what it's quacking like. We got to figure out what kind it actually is, and then the treatment plan ahead. But all the advice I had been given was get as healthy as you could possibly get, eat the
Yep.
right foods, exercise, try to sleep. I mean, sleep is an elusive beast right now, and just to try and get. I've lost 10 pounds. Some of it is just smell aversion to food, and I just can't eat anything. It causes just gastric distress. But I'm trying to get as healthy as I can be to get ready for whatever fire is coming at this beast.
Yeah, that's all you can do sometimes. It's you do as much as you can control, and right now that's about all you can control. You can't
Right?
control anything else except for
No.
what you do for you. So,
Right.
so how are
And
you? We talk a lot about the physical, but how are you dealing with this mentally and emotionally?
that is a big piece that I'm thankful that I've had therapists for the last 3 years through my
Yeah.
PA saying that it's, oh, it must just be PTSD, it must be anxiety. So I do have a great therapy team that I can lean on, but I've also got, where I'm building a cancer support network. Like I was listening to cancer convos to figure out like, the terms, things getting tossed at me. I'm like, I have no idea what this is.
Yeah.
But a big piece was I lean into prayer, I lean into my faith. And so when I was practicing yoga these last 24 years, I realized that there's a style of yoga that you meditate on scripture. And so it resonated well with me um, coming down to University of Mary and learned with the Benedictine nuns who teach us the Lectio Divina style to meditate on scripture.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? You can do that with a yoga practice. That's really kind of cool. So, so I've been leading a yoga ministry. Even though I left Annapolis, I lead it over Zoom for a church in Annapolis, and then other people log into that. But yoga has been a big piece of my mental resilience. Like so much is out of control. And so much feels like this horrific dark storm coming in. And so when I practice the yoga, I try to bring in that light. Like my light, my little light in me feels like it's flickering and getting smothered out by this ishy cancer and all the doubts and I don't and the uncertainties. And so the light wants to dim. And so then I look to other people and they spread a little joy, a little light, a little hope, the just persist, like, you're gonna be okay and you're
Yeah.
gonna get through it. Like, so that relights my light. And then when I sit now, meditate and move and breathe, and that starts to get my body to finally let go. Like I'm always with my shoulders up, like the fight or flight, just and so
Yeah.
I'm always like, oh, melt your shoulders down, big breath out. And so, being the yoga teacher out of breath, noticing that there was a lot of just like a chaotic feeling um, that yoga helped me notice. okay, something really is wrong and I need to seek care. And it was to track down the cancer beast. So I'm thankful that I did have that meditative yoga practice, but a lot of it now is like yoga for body aches and pains and to try and rebuild my breath. So to figure out just gentle movements, limited movements, like after having laparoscopic surgery, my stomach is just hosed. It hurts. Like there is scar
Yeah.
tissue and abdominal pain and mucin building up. And so a lot of yoga has you like bend over and move your body in different ways that my body, I have to listen really slow and really gentle. And yoga should never hurt, is what I tell people. And so often doctors have been telling me, you should do more yoga. I'm like, oh, should I? Would that make my breath come back? Like, should I try more yoga? Like, that's a great idea. Maybe I should practice more yoga. But a lot of people are like, how do I start? It's like, you should listen to
Yeah.
music, Stacy. You should listen to music. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, where do I start? And so what
Yeah.
kind do you like? So there's a lot of styles of yoga. What works for me, I've always been the yoga breath or the yoga for breath because I was always like feeling short of breath, anxious breath. So I've built a pretty big breath work practice. But also a mindfulness practice is another term that comes out. So I try to practice mindful movements. I had the gift of a head injury when I was in the army too. So I have post-concussion syndrome. I always lead with my head. Like I fell down a couple weekends ago. My herniated abdominal muscles gave out on me and I started to
Yeah.
teeter and the Instant Pot lid started to twist off and it won the thumb war and I broke my thumb and hit my head again. So
Oh.
because cancer wasn't fun enough. I need a broken
Yeah.
thumb and a concussion as well. So I practice yoga in a very slow way so that I don't fall over and break my
Yeah.
thumb like I did. But so I was leading in a lot of senior communities and working with folks with cancer, folks in hospice, just to move mindfully, to try and rebuild whatever strength we can just to get from where we need to be to where we need to get to. Like one lady just needed to get to the bathroom. And so we were working on how to stand up straight to be able to walk to get to where you need to go. And then you rest again. So that's been my yoga practice was for my mental health, but for my
Yeah.
physical health to try and, get rid of the stress that I'm just holding in my shoulders and tensing my jaw and softening my face. And so that's, as people are starting to ask me, okay, well, how do I start this yoga thing? Like everyone's like, do more yoga. How in the world do I start? So my big advice is kind of like, exploring your musical tastes. You're going to explore yoga tastes. You're going to
Yeah.
figure out the style that works for you. Me, I need a gentle, restorative, slow flow, yin. What other terms do they use? Like I rest, yoga nidra, like a sleepy state yoga almost. Like that's what my busy brain needs. Like I need an off switch. And so I practice styles of yoga that get me to turn the off switch. But my husband, he hates my class. Like I love him dearly, 25 years married. And he's
Yeah.
like, you're too slow. I want to sweat. I want my muscles to quiver. And so he finds peace and balance when he really works out and he gets
Yeah.
going and his muscles are quivering. And so he's got, a style that works for him and I've got a style that works for me. And that's the cool thing about yoga is it's a practice. One size
Yeah.
doesn't have to fit all. You don't have to like my slow restorative style. There's laughing yoga where you can, practice with people that will just teach you to laugh until your body believes in the laughter. Like it's a mental health, just laugh until your body believes it. And so to have someone chuckling at you and you start to chuckle because it's just contagious.
Right.
But yeah, there's like screaming yoga where you just need to scream it
I
out.
feel like I'd be really good at screaming yoga.
Yeah.
I feel like that is I'm not a Zen person. I feel like screaming yoga would be
Yeah.
really
Oh,
good for
similar.
me. I think I'd
Yeah. Yeah, it's so I am the Incredible Hulk yoga teacher where I went to anger management and they're like, who, police referral? I'm like, no, self-referral. I'm a yoga teacher who has anger issues.
Yeah.
And,
Police
and
referral.
so yeah, so I self-referred to anger management class, but I try to practice yoga kind of like the Incredible Hulk, the Bruce Banner, like
Just
find the
keeping it at bay,
peace
girl.
so that I don't explode because I explode really easy. And you add PTSD on top of that, and you're like, a triggered thing. And I'm like, okay, that's not right. Inner peace, inner peace. But it's a practice. And so I love that Saint Benedict taught us, when things go wrong, we keep our chin up and we begin again. And when things go right, we celebrate and we begin again. So always we begin again. And that's kind of been my
That's
mantra,
hard.
like.
Do you find yourself I tell people when you go through this cancer battle, you're going to find so many great moments of joy. You're going to find so many moments of pain. You're going to find moments of frustration. And for sure, don't feel bad. You're going to have moments of anger. Like, why is this happening to me? Why did this happen to me? Just don't get lost in it. I tell people, like, I'm like, it's okay to feel it and to process it, but you
Yep.
can't sit in it because I feel like that is the hardest part. As positive as I was, like probably 90% of the time, there's still 5% of the time where I'm still, even years after this, like, why in the hell did this happen to me? Because cancer is not once you beat it, it's not done. Like,
No.
I still
I'll be
I have,
monitored every 3 months, 6 months, a
yep,
year for
and
the
I
rest of
have
my life.
surgery now every 4 months
Mhm.
to put in a new kidney stent because cancer, the scar tissue from my big mother of all surgeries, affected my kidneys and my ureter. So they're trying to close off.
Yep.
The scar tissue strangles it. So every 4 months, I have to go in for surgery and I will have this stent in my kidneys and my ureter until I die, whenever that is, or until they find a way
A
that they
way to
can
fix it, right?
to fix it, to get rid of.
Right.
But right now, scar tissue, that's not something you can fix, and that's tough,
Mhm.
because when you operate on it, you just get more. So
Yep.
it's one of those
Yeah.
things where I find, like, there is anger, 100% there's anger, and it's okay to feel that and go through it. Um, but then, like you said, begin again. You just have to, like, you just can't sit in it.
Right. And that was the part I was getting stuck in, like the ruminating on it. Like, how do
Yeah,
I get unstuck? And so
yeah,
that was where I started to look, like, reading all these different books. Like I say, yoga, where I dig in and I find different recipe books, like different people's methods of how to let go. And I was like, okay, how do I let go? Well, I notice those feelings, like you said, like when they pop up, and sometimes they really stick around. Well, I notice them and I thank them for talking to me. Yes, you have a right to be angry. This isn't fair. People don't get what's going on with my body. Like, you're fine. You just need to go poop. And I'm like, no, I have cancer. Like,
you're like, yeah, no, that's
there
not
is a
just the
thing.
way that works. I'm
Well,
not just
thank
gonna
you. You're
take
fine.
like Metamucil and life's gonna be
Right.
okay again.
Yeah. So the noticing emotions was the big piece. Like, now
Yeah.
that I'm talking to other people with cancer, when the extreme joy comes in, we thank it. We're like, hey, I have joy, I have light. Like, there's the
Yeah.
light in me, and I'm going to share the light with you, and we're going to spread joy. And then to sit with each other when we feel that sadness or that anger or that despair, but to try not to ruminate in it by being like, okay, well, let's seek the light. Let's bring something that sparks joy, because we can't sit in the dark forever. It's not a healthy place to be at either. So I've realized that we do have the power of breath and that noticing,
Mm-hmm.
and bringing in like a light feeling and then breathing out the ishy feeling, like naming what you're noticing and letting light swirl around it and then breathe it out has been a mental exercise that I'm trying to do. Like, thank you, anger. You've had your place, you've had your time, and now I'm going to let you go. And I try to like relax my shoulders or relax my jaw and like let it go. But then when I've let it go, then I'm like, but I got to fill it in with something good. Like, I got to spark
Yeah.
that light. Like, I got to put some fuel into my heart, my light. And so then I'll breathe in a word that sparks that light, whether it's, I need to feel peace, and I breathe in that peace be with you. Or I need to breathe in, like, it's hard to love a body that's full of cancer and failing us. Like, so I
Yeah.
breathe in like unconditional love myself, and then it's easier to start to love others. But I have to pull like that divine love, because yeah, it's kind of ridiculous when you don't want to breathe in kindness to your own body. It's hard to be kind to others. And so it's been a practice where I have to notice, like, what am I missing? What am I pushing out of my heart? That light that I'm smothering, like, what do I need to welcome back in? And so I welcome in those feelings that refill me. And so that's kind of that yoga meditation part of it, is just like noticing where we're at, and there's a balance. Like you can be angry and you can be sad, but to not ruminate forever, to try and get unstuck and to try and bring in the light. And when it comes back, you just say, well, I'm welcoming in the light again. And but it's a practice of noticing and giving thanks for even
Yeah.
pain. Like to notice, hey, when something hurts, we now know to listen to it and to say, hey, why do I have this pain? Is it scar tissue? Is it a recurrence? And,
Yeah.
and to try not to have, I hear the term scanxiety, where you're, waiting
Yeah.
for the next
I'm
scan
like,
and
you
someone,
can't control it. So it's not
right,
going to change the outcome. So you
right.
just
I'm
gotta, you
just
can't
breathe
dwell on
into
it.
it. And I'm
Can't
like, you
live
know
in it.
what? May it see what it needs to see and may it fix what it needs to fix. And so I'm just
Yeah.
trying to do that mantra of all will be well. They'll see what they need to see. We'll fix what we can fix, and we'll begin again. And but it's a practice. That's why you keep
It
trying.
is.
And
Well, and that's good advice because my oncology team had said 90% of your battle is going to be mental. Like if you can stay positive mentally, you're going to be okay, but it's staying in that that part where you don't want to get sucked up by the negativity. So being able to handle your emotions and things that you're going through are so important when you're going through your cancer journey. So these are great tips for people. I've started practicing this thing now where I I go from I have to I get to. I think one of the blessings I had going through my cancer journey is just realizing how thankful I was to be able to do the things that I get to do. Like being able to get up and get out of bed in the morning, being able to go to work like I typically do, being able to go to events when I could, being able, so I just keep reminding myself
right,
of the peace that I found when I was going through my cancer journey and the thankfulness, the gratitude
right,
of I get to,
yeah.
I'm
I
still
get
around
to breathe
today.
another
I
breath.
get to
I
breathe
get to
today.
breathe today. I
Yep, I
get
get
to
to,
try to move today.
yes, I get to move today. I get to interact with people today. I get to
Mhm.
live another day. You know what I mean? So it's
Right.
like I'm trying to, as crazy as my life gets sometimes, I think I get to do this instead of
Right.
I
I
have to
get
do
to.
this.
I get to be grateful. And
Yeah.
yeah, it is such a practice though. And it's a total reality check when, you're like, wow. Because, PMP is a strange cancer. We usually don't get graded. Some
Yeah.
countries do, some countries don't. But because an organ has exploded and is putting mucin in the belly, it's stage 4. It is taking over. It's touching multiple organs and
Yeah.
has left one place and gone to another. Um, so, you get the Christmas gift of stage 4 cancer, and it makes you really realize, like, what's important to me. And to go to the people who have touched my life and said, hey, thank you. And thank you
Yeah.
for being a light, like you shining a light, with this cancer convos, being
Aw.
like, you know what? The more we share light with each other is what I'm so grateful for. That, unfortunately, a lot of people have been coming to me for years saying, hey, you've had to do this adaptive yoga. You've got a brain injury. You've got chronic pain. How do I help my daughter who's dying of brain cancer? How do I help my mother-in-law who's got
Yeah.
COPD and, wants to grow close to God before the end? And so it's been blessing and a curse to have chronic pain for so
Yeah.
long and now to have cancer. But I've been able to like shine the light of hope to be like, we get to persist for another breath. Some days it's a
Yeah.
struggle to persist, and other days we give thanks because it isn't a struggle. And it's, where you notice, like, hey, today's a good day.
I know.
And then other days, like, oh, you know what? Today's a work in progress, and I'm going to try the best I can. And
I
just like
know. And
one foot in
sometimes
front of
I'm just like,
another.
sometimes the only thing I can be thankful for is the fact that I'm still around to see today. And then at the same time, I kind of get a little bit pissed about that. Like if that's as high as the bar is set today, this kind of fucking sucks. You know what I mean? Like there are
Right.
people that are just roaming around like absolutely oblivious, not appreciating what they have going on in their lives. And here I am. I'm just thankful. Like I'm in an incredible amount of pain today. I don't feel good. I'm having a hard time, but I'm just happy I'm alive. Like the bar should be higher, and I'm kind of pissed about this. And then I'm like,
like,
okay.
Candace, you're still smiling. How can you be at an 8 of pain? I'm like, well, when you've had chronic pain for 20 some years, like
Yeah.
you learn to smile through it. You kind of
Yeah.
until you make it. And so I'm like, no, really, this is what a level 8 pain is, or I can still laugh, but it feels like I have 2 broken ribs.
Right.
I have hope that I hear that if I do have like something wrong with the ribs, that they can 3D print ribs now. Like, what a cool world we live in.
That's true.
I could even get like 3D printed ribs. So I'm thankful that science has come as far as it has. I would love a cure for cancer. Like, no one should have to go through this. It sucks. It really sucks. And not everybody makes it through, and so some of that like survivor guilt too, like, you know.
But I had 4 friends that have passed of ovarian cancer in the last 2 years, and it's hard because you feel bad. You're like, why me?
Yep.
Like, why am I still here? They deserve to be here too, and it sucks. But they have a plan for us, Candace. We're still here. They have a plan for us.
And that's what I keep holding on to. A lot of folks keep saying that, you know, there's a plan for you. There's a reason you still have breath in your lungs, a reason that you can still shout from the rooftops. Listen to your body. Be your best advocate. Like, persist. Don't be told it's just premenopause. It's just like, you know, my stuff in August when I had horrific pain. Well, you had COVID. Just blame COVID for the gut shutdown. It takes 4 to 6 weeks to recover. Okay, well, maybe it takes a year to recover. And, you know, I just kept feeling that gentle nudge that
something's not right.
Something's not right.
Yeah.
You gotta. And at one point I was like, the Grim Reaper's coming. And here in Hawaii, they're like, don't you say that. Don't you say that, you know? And so I was like, okay, all right. But that's kind of what it felt like. And to shout from the rooftops, be your best advocate. Keep asking questions, dig deeper, find someone else who maybe has the knowledge to dig. And like, that's what I'm doing, going to a specialized treatment center. There's only, you know, a few states in the entire U.S. and a few across the world that can treat pseudomyxoma peritonei. So to find those specialists, because there are some doctors that'll be like, oh yeah, I can clean up your IL-3 mess. I can get this debulked.
Right.
And it doesn't always turn out well when you don't know how to like get every microscopic bit and get it gone.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of new research for like pressurized chemo in the abdomen instead. So they call it PIPEC instead of HIPEC, and it might damage our organs less, which would be really pretty awesome to, you know, not damage abdominal organs. But
that's kind of nice. Yeah.
Right? But it was neat that you know, the ability of the internet to bridge rare cancer fighters together. That I connected with someone named Faye, who's in the UK, and she started a podcast as well for pseudomyxoma conversations. But she went viral in January. It was a clickbait headline: "Woman has 8 organs removed and is back to work at Gatwick Airport, loading luggage." And people are like, "You can live without 8 organs?" And like, you know. Like, they trim off a piece of your liver, they take a bit of your, you know.
They took my spleen, they took my appendix, they took a little bit of this, they took a little bit of that.
Like, they took my ovary already, so I'm down 2. They have the ovary fallopian tube, so the count is funny for this. Like, you know, Faye lost both ovaries and tubes, and her uterus makes it 5 right away. And then
Yep, I had that too. Yeah.
Spleen, the gallbladder, but they'll shave off the liver. Mine, I felt an explosion on my bladder in August. Like, I blacked out. I went to the ER, like horrific pain. So something's going on. So I'm just hopefully optimistic that this Christmas tree lighten me up specialty drinkable CT scan stuff is going to finally show like why so many things hurt, like why my ribs are in searing pain. Like every breath is just feeling like that John Hurt moment, the alien trying to break through my rib.
Right.
Just surreal what this jelly belly is doing. And so I want to know if it's, you know, a gelatinous mass that's pushing its way through, but it it's surreal, and I'm hopefully optimistic for this specialized team is going to figure it out. They've got the technology, they've got the expertise that they've seen this beast before. They know how it quacks in different ways, and they're going to figure out the best way to fight it with fire, whether it's still at MD Anderson or if it's at a higher risk treatment center. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got to see how my bingo card plays out. Once they grid out my abdomen and we see like what my score is, they'll either be like, yeah, we'll treat you here, or they'll say, do all these crazy rounds of chemo that may or may not make a difference because pseudomyxoma doesn't typically respond to chemo that goes into your bloodstream because it's not a bloodstream based cancer. It's a mucin in your abdomen cancer. And so, some places will try and diminish before debulking surgery.
Yeah.
And other
Yeah. That's what
places
we did
will.
too. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And other places are like, look, the chemo just makes you weaker. It doesn't actually affect
It does. See,
pseudomyxoma.
I was supposed to have the the belly bath chemo,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
my
yeah.
white count was too low, so they wouldn't
Right.
do it. And
So yeah,
I'm kind of thankful because it ended up I didn't need it.
yeah,
And so
right.
thankfully I
And
didn't have
that's
to
where
go through the recovery on that. That's tough.
and
Yeah.
that is the tough part, Stacey. Like we have these ideas of how it could be treated, and
Yeah.
then they might be in there doing the surgery, and they'll be like, "Well, we're just going to take this organ because it looks bad," and then, whoops, I guess
Yeah.
maybe it wasn't bad. And other times they're like, "Oh, we're so glad we took this. It was what had the cancer in it."
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's a practice of rolling with the practice of
Just roll
medicine,
with it.
like the mental resilience of just try to roll with it. Like what comes, comes. What's going to work is
I've
going to
always
work.
said
What
it's
doesn't
going to work
work.
out like it's supposed to work out. You just have to
Right,
have faith it's going to work out like it's supposed to work out.
right. And that is the practice of having faith. So thank you for shining the light of
Well,
just,
thank you, ma'am, for
hanging
being a
in
guest
there.
today, and keep us updated on how everything goes. Like keep me updated. I want to know how everything's going with you.
Yeah,
So
definitely, definitely. And the tip of do more yoga. It'll start with just practice your breath, practice
yoga
your
and breathe.
mindfulness, practicing your noticing. Notice where your tension is, breathe it out, let it go. Like you don't have to be in a class. You can do 6 deep breaths and your body will reset from fight or flight. So a yoga practice can be as short as 6 breaths, or it could be, a beautiful flow with a class in community.
Yeah.
It can look how it needs to look to help you be just a little bit stronger, body, mind, soul.
Well, good tips, lady. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Best wishes to
I
you
have faith it's
too.
going to be great. You're gonna
Yeah,
it's gonna we're gonna look back on this a year from now and we're gonna laugh at how stupid and ridiculous it all is.
right. We're gonna be like, man, Candace killed that beast like literally with fire. Like it is gone, and she's back to walking and
And it's all
feeding.
good.
It's gonna be awesome. Yeah, it's gonna be
All
awesome.
right. Well, thanks
Yeah.
for joining us today, ma'am.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Stacy. Appreciate
Thank you. Cancer Combos is sponsored by Bismarck Cancer Center and Chelsea Smith Cosmetics. We'll see y'all next week.